The contacts, if you're talking about with the Mantis, now I have only seen one Mantis repeatedly throughout the years. And this Mantis apparently is all, seems to have a positive attitude towards me, an interest in me that goes deeper than any of the others that I've seen. I think that a number of the races have connected, and there's so many different, arguments about why are they here, what are they doing, why the hybrids, all of that. First of all, I think you go back to the overall thing, and I think we're seeded. Okay, I think our race is seeded, and I think that although there is some of the hybrid thing going on now, okay, and they are producing hybrids, different types of hybrids, I do think that what may be happening overall, and the greatest possibility with a number of races, is that they're trying to get the violence out of us. They're trying to, because we are spiritual beings living in these, we are living in these outer garments of these bodies, but we're spiritual beings, and we may keep recycling and coming back into these particular beings as a human being. We may not. We may be done with this and move somewhere else. But I think that there are certain species that are working with our containers, the humanity, the conditioning that's in there, the way our brain functions, certain things. That being said, a lot of the experiences have been genetically altered. I do believe I've been genetically altered. I do believe my father was genetically altered, and my grandfather. Okay. And so I believe on that side of the family, there was a whole line of genetic alterations that have happened. Okay. So I think there is consciousness when they begin to interact with a certain genetic line of humans.
And so, for instance, this Mantis entity that you've had a personal relationship with, which recognizes you as an individual, that particular Mantis entity might have been in contact with your family bloodline going back many generations. That one entity, living perhaps thousands of years, might work with many generations of a family in a long-term relationship.
I would think so. Okay. I would think so. Now, this particular entity, this particular Mantis, is very connected to me. I am very connected to him. How I know he's a male, I have no idea. But he's very connected to me. And it's been throughout my experiences. Now, I do not have any specific recollections of him appearing during childhood, not specifically, but through many other instances. And the tone of those interactions, when I have experienced an interaction with him, it has transpired in an environment where there are other species around. Tall whites, the short and the tall grays. There have been other entities that have been present when he's been with me. It's always been around some kind of testing and training. And it's always been about him trying to show them things about me. Now, would that be the whole genetic line? Probably.
Which also speaks to a non-uniformity among the various entities. If this one particular Mantis is advocating for you in different contexts, it implies there's not necessarily a consensus among these beings, and the population is not monolithic. Something is still up in the air about how this will unfold.
Well, if you're going to talk about, and now I've met other experiencers, of course, and for example, they run into different types of beings like the Nordics, or what are the other ones they call? The blues or the Nordics, that apparently from the way people describe them, they have higher spiritual aspirations. It all depends who you're running into, I suppose. Now, for whatever reason, I have run into a lot of the whites, the tall whites. I've run into the reptilians. That's a whole nother story. Okay. So this particular entity, this Mantis, the feeling that I get is that he's a scientist. Okay. Now, he has an overwhelming degree of compassion and interest in humanity, period. Okay. I feel that. I know that somehow. But he also has used me as an example in different scenarios around these other species. Because what I pick up is a disregard from some of the other species. They disregard the value of humanity, but there are some that feel quite differently. They know the potential, and so that connection, I think, has been a very important connection, almost like a mentor, if you would, or a mentor, a protector also, but all positive. I've heard some people don't have good feelings about Mantis, but I have nothing but positive feeling about the Mantis.